There was a beautiful woman lying on a chaise lounge on a gorgeous huge balcony, a cute hat, an elegant bathing suit. That's all the woman was wearing at that moment. Nina was always very sweet, even as a little girl on the holiday, standing on a stool and telling a poem. All the guests just marveled at the girlish charms. Dimples on her cheeks, gorgeous braid. Nina could not be called particularly clever in comprehension of sciences, but she always knew how to reach her goal. Even at school, the girl differed enterprising, not squandering on unnecessary communication, seeking his own advantage. Having a very nice appearance in the last years of school, the girl never carried a bag by herself. There was always a couple of 3 boys who competed in an effort to see the beautiful Nina home. Even her college years, when her friends were partying at discos and sleeping in adjoining dorm rooms with grieving students, Nina chronicled her innocence, wanting to sell it more expensively. Vanilla dreams didn't last long. By her 5th year, when the girl was 21, she had already met her prince. And let the man was 14 years older. He was successful, rich, owned his own business. And how did he court her? At the wedding, he and Misha, which was the name of Nina's spouse, the newlyweds swore eternal love and fidelity. It was not to say that Nina fell madly in love. Yes, Misha was an interesting man. Yes, he idolized Nina. You'll get used to it. That's what the girl thought when she got married. The only fly in the ointment in this barrel of honey was the 11-year-old son of the chosen one. Nina had no plans to raise other people's children, but a tasty piece of cake in the form of Misha was too desirable. Now Nina was 28 years old. The husband, being a real workaholic, greatly increased his fortune, offering Nina a life without poverty. The woman never needed education. Being under the wing of a strong man gave Nina the opportunity to live simply for pleasure. If at age 21, Nina looked just a pretty girl, now she has turned into a gorgeous woman. Beauty salons, fitness, Botox, a little silicone. And now she is a goddess. Now this beauty was lying on a chaise lounge, exposing her luxurious body to the warmth and rays of July. A trip to the sea was cancelled, as her husband had an urgent project, and Misha refused to let such a beauty go alone. Most likely, now Nina would have even sunbathed topless, but her stepson was wandering around the apartment, and to appear in his negligee in front of no apparent desire. By the way, their relationship did not go well almost immediately after the wedding with a bouncy. At first the boy kept remembering his mother, who had left them, and then he hated his stepmother. Over time, they decided to simply observe neutrality and practically ignore each other. And with her husband, Nina had a strange relationship. If in the first year of married life there was a certain passion, then later he needed a woman only as a beautiful toy. The man was very pleased to present his beautiful wife as a companion at social parties. Intimacy between the spouses was not more than 2 or 3 times a month. Mikhail devoted himself entirely to his work. Not that it particularly upset Nina for more than a year, as she had a fitness trainer as her lover. The 30-year-old man was tall, pumped up, very handsome. Nina was very attracted to this man. Periodically, lowering her husband's bank card balance, Nina gifted her lover with expensive presents. The trainer was a little silly, but the body was divine. In fact, Nina needed only one thing from him. "Mom, I'm going for a walk," said the stepson, slamming the door. Kolya did not particularly report to his stepmother, even less obeyed her, but the boy complied with his father's request to be polite to Nina every once in a while. "He's gone at last, you can sunbathe in the nude," thinks Nina, untying the knot of her bra behind her back and pulling down her panties. The woman madly disliked it when the overall tan differed from the tan on the covered areas. At one point, the woman decided to roll over and expose her beautiful back and slender legs to the warm rays. The glass, wine, and book were put aside, and the woman just enjoyed the warmth. The man's hands woke a sleeping Nina. Misha had promised to be back early today, hinting at love. It had been 2 weeks since they'd had intimacy, and Nina hadn't seen her lover in 5 days. The instructor was sick and was at home treating a cold. Nina still pretended to be asleep, allowing her husband's hands to stroke her body. A light massage of the shoulders followed, a stroking of the back, and in a few seconds, Nina felt the weight of her husband's body on her. My Misha has lost some weight. The last thing a woman had time to think under the weight of her body. The next second, she was swept away by a storm of emotions. How good. The only thing Nina could utter. Opening her eyes and turning sharply, Nina saw her stepson's face. The woman tried to pull away, trying to throw herself off this 18-year-old boy, but the young man was expecting it and held her tightly. Suddenly, there was the sound of the door lock opening. It had recently become jammed. Misha didn't have time to change it, and Kolya and Nina didn't want to bother with a repairman. The boy quickly jumped off his stepmother, pulling on his pants on the way, while Nina tried to find a swimsuit she had removed. By the time Misha got home, it was all pretty decent. It probably took him that long to get in because he had his horns on the top jamb of the door. "Darling, you're back," came out of the balcony a woman who had had time to fix her outfit and wipe off the remnants of sin. Nina kissed her husband tenderly on the cheek, while Kolya was long ago in his room minding his own business. The evening promised to be festive. Misha had pulled off another deal and was now arriving in a great mood, so the table was set. Nina had put on an expensive dress, under which there was beautiful lace underwear. The head of the family sat at the head of the table, and Nina and Kolya were on either side of him. Over a glass of wine, the stepmother-stepson's gazes met several times. However, Kolya, like a true spy, did not even give the appearance of what had happened shortly before. It was not in Nina's plans to tell her husband what had happened. She knew perfectly well that it would ruin the family. Yes, she could tell Misha that she had been with his own son, but time twists the facts, distorting them. And it wasn't necessarily the case that Misha would eventually take her side. And what, again, would the young man say to his father? Already by nightfall, Misha, encouraged by his work successes and wreath, embraced his wife. Nina responded with a hug and a kiss. They collapsed on the luxurious bed, undressing in a hurry. In the morning, Misha used to rush to work. Before that, Nina prepared a delicious breakfast for her husband. Still, a woman in this house had some duties other than rest. Kolya was still snoozing in his room, a vacation at the institute. Nina took a shower, applied light makeup on her beautiful face. Even at home, the woman liked to be beautiful. An hour later, Kolya woke up and half asleep dashed to the bathroom. Nina began living with Misha when Kolya was only 11 years old. She always treated him as a child. However, after yesterday, the woman looked at the guys through a different prism of perception. Kolya was 180 centimeters tall. His abdomen showed a rather sculpted abs. His hands were manly beyond his years. After performing morning hygiene procedures, Kolya decided to lie down some more. Nina hesitated to talk to her stepson for a long time, but after half an hour, she went into his room. "Kolya, what was that yesterday?" Stepmother asked quite gently. Kolya was silent for quite a long time, being very insolent and spoiled by life. This time he was tagging along. "I have liked you for a long time. You are so beautiful, so attractive. I've been thinking only of you for a long time." "I don't even look at other girls," the boy replied shyly. It was the first time he had ever called Nina you, and the woman had never noticed the shyness of the stepson. The boy sat on the edge of the bed, lowering his eyes. He had really grown up. Quite handsome. Interesting. Probably lies about the other girls. He was too skillful yesterday, the woman pondered. Already a long time ago, Nina had turned from a sweet girl into a self-serving, calculating lady. In every action, in every word spoken, Nina looked for profit. She would have easily crossed over a man by stepping on him with a sharp heel, if that person was not profitable and not needed. At times, it seemed to Nina herself that she had a heart of stone, incapable of compassion or a sense of gnawing conscience. Now there was a young, sexy boy sitting in front of her who was always at her beck and call. Technically, there was no kinship between them. So, why not? Nina sat down next to him, her already short silk robe pulled up to the limit. Only a little hides the most intimate. Kolya looked at his stepmother. Under the robe, the woman had no underwear. Kolya looked at the woman with fascinated eyes. Nina ran her hand over the boy's head, and her fingers went into a lock of hair. A couple of moments, and the woman dug passionately into the guy's lips with a kiss. Kolya staggered, but after a second, he began to respond to the woman. His hands stroked the beautiful woman's body, slowly pulling down the light robe. The lovers' meetings were almost daily. A long time ago, far and away the fitness trainer had been sent away. Nina enjoyed the day with Kolya, and in the evenings with Misha. Lately, Nina's cheeks had clearly turned pink. She became more fluttery, which didn't go unnoticed by her husband. He liked the new-looking wife. Another night, Misha said that they were going to dinner at a restaurant with his business partner. Such meetings were frequent, constituting small talk and the usual farce. In this case, however, the partner was really serious. Over the past 6 months after the events described above, Misha's business has been on the decline. The man had been discounted several times, the instability of the dollar had played a role, and the failure to fulfill the terms to creditors. No, there were still considerable assets, but the former greatness was gone, so a new partner was very important to Misha. Nina began preparations in the morning. The woman visited a beauty salon, a stylist, got a chic manicure, bought a new fashionable dress. In general, by the evening the woman just shone. The restaurant charmed with expensive decorations. The whole family was seated at the table. Opposite them sat a rather stylish man of about 50, Misha's partner, his charming wife and daughter. A tall, beautiful, very charming little girl. The expensive attire gave her added charm. She was no more than 18, but she already looked as if she had walked off the cover of a glossy magazine. The final touch of this splendor was a diamond chick necklace around her neck. However, all these preparations ceased to mean anything when Nina found that Kolya, sitting next to her, did not pay attention to her and cooed very nicely with the girl. The girl reciprocated the guy. After another toast to working together, the fathers of the families announced that the young people would soon get married. They love each other. Besides, it will help to unite the family and their contractual agreements. Nina's mouth almost opened in surprise. All her life, accustomed to self-interest, now she had no desire to lose Kolya. She was so strongly attached to Kolya's heart that she could not think a day without him. Already in the evening, she reprimanded her husband. "Darling, aren't you ashamed to marry your son solely because of your business relationship? Nina, you don't understand. Too much has happened in my firm in the last 6 months. We're at the level of bankruptcy. A partner is a breath of fresh air for me. He's the one who can make a real win-win situation happen. Besides, you've seen the way the kids look at each other, the way they're in love. That would be the perfect foundation for our relationship." In bed, Nina referred to a headache and within minutes heard her husband's quiet sap. She ran to Kolya's room. The enamored stepmother was well aware that one day the boy would marry, but she did not think it would happen so soon. "Kolya, honey, have you really decided to get married?" Almost with tears in her eyes, said the woman. Kolya gently hugged Nina. "That's what my father wants. But I only love you. Do you hear me? I love only you," said Kolya, tenderly embraced his stepmother, and then kissed her sweetly. Always before, during love affairs, they took advantage of Misha's absence from home, but now passion took over. Despite the preparations for the wedding, Nina's meetings with Kolya did not stop. They had intimacy on every possible occasion, wanting to say each other as if on their last day. And yet the wedding day came. A fancy restaurant, lots of guests, a wonderful toastmaster, guest artists. The bride reminded me of a Disney princess. Kolya was also in an expensive suit. The guests praised the bride and groom, calling them the most beautiful couple. Everyone was having fun, saying loud toasts, and wishing them all the best. Nina alone looked gloomier and cloudier. Over the past 6 months, she had grown attached at heart to her young lover. She hadn't been looking for a connection on the side for a long time. She hadn't wanted an imposition for a long time. She'd just fallen in love with Kolya. She seemed to be in love for the first time in her life. And now he was given to someone else. Nina, accustomed lately to the elite drinks, was now stupidly singing vodka, having even received a few remarks from her spouse about the limits of decency. Now she was not interested in boundaries. The woman looked only at Kolya, who was kissing his bride to the screams. Beneath the general hovering, few noticed an unassuming man in an overcoat who strode over to Misha's partner. An envelope appeared in his hand and was immediately pumped into his partner's hands. Examining the sheets of contents, his partner's eyes rounded. He stood up. The music stopped. The wedding is over. The man said loudly and headed swiftly for the exit, tossing the envelope to Misha, who was sitting on his right hand. Misha extracted the photographs from the envelope. It is not known who had taken these pictures, and under what circumstances, but it clearly showed intimate scenes of Nina and Kolya. Sitting next to his wife, she looked at the photo and came to indescribable horror. Who, when did it? Nina thought about it. Bitch. Get out of here, roared Misha, and then quietly, but with an undisguised threat, said, pointing a finger at his son. Tomorrow, the military registration and the army. Yes, get the hell out of the house, too. After uttering an angry tirade, Misha also left the restaurant. All her life, Nina was clever and calculating. For the first time in her life, she fell in love and relaxed. She paid for her weakness bitterly.